Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Sweet Nothings podcast. If you're new here, my name is Kelly, and I am the baker, writer, and shy chatter behind Maverick Baking and this here podcast. If you're into food, relaxed, funny, informative chats all about the love of food and eating, talking about the latest food trends, controversial opinions, and all things edible, this is a place you might want to stick around, even just for like half an hour or so. As long as it takes you to get bored, I'm not here to judge. Today, folks, I want to get back onto the topic of intuitive eating. More specifically, intuitive eating and eating in the summer in general, in the warm months, or warmer if you were unlucky enough to be born in a similar climate to the one I was born in. Summer's sort of just cold, but slightly lighter in the evenings. But obviously, as we get into that, I'll discuss my opinions on things as someone who has suffered for a very, 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 very large period of her life with eating issues, eating disorders, body image issues, insecurities, etc., as I'm quite confident many of you listening will have had, whether recently, when you were younger, for a large or small portion of your life, whichever it is. It's something I think the majority of us can relate to. And it's something that we don't talk about enough. We're sold solutions to things that we don't need solutions for. We're sold new insecurities every year, especially around this time of year. January is the only month that's worse from what I can think of at the top of my head. So I want to get into that today. I want to talk about what eating is like and some of the things that we can take as, positives and negatives to help us feel a bit better in and about ourselves, our diets, and our bodies in the summer, even if we're already halfway through it, thanks to my procrastination and general laziness with this heat and humidity. But I digress. First, though, as always, I want to talk about the things that have been popping up in the world of food this month. In terms of trends, unsurprisingly, there hasn't been a whole lot going on. TikTok hasn't been overrun by some new, snazzy way of making something or some particularly daft recipe or anything like that, or at least it hasn't been on my radar. Again, it could just be my laziness that hasn't allowed me to come across it yet. But in terms of new food products, there have been quite a few, whether they've arrived this month or they've been announced this month. Now, it's going to be a little bit UK specific this time, because I know that there's a large portion of you guys are from the same silly little island that I am from. So that's what we're going to focus on. If you're from elsewhere in the world, please enjoy the nonsense or feel free to skip ahead a little bit. The first and kind of biggest announcement in terms of the world of sweets, which, as you know by the title of this podcast and by my baking blog and my general personal dependency on all things sugar, those are the things I focus on the most. And Cadbury made a big announcement this month in bringing back the Top Deck bar to the UK. Now, I believe this is one that was and is still available in South Africa and also in the kind of Australian, New Zealand Cadbury market, but it's one that the UK hasn't seen for a very long time. In fact, I don't know if I remember it in my lifetime. And that's almost 30 years of time, folks. That's almost 3 decades. That's a long ass time. I could be wrong though. Basically, the Top Deck is your standard dairy milk bar from Cadbury, but with dream white chocolate on top. So it's not quite half and half. It's maybe like 60-40, like 60% milk chocolate and 40% white chocolate on top. But it hasn't been around for a while. White chocolate from Cadbury generally has been quite scarce in the UK. So it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one to bring back for the summer, but it will also be intriguing to see whether it actually sticks around or whether it's just one of these things they do to boost sales. Who knows? Why it disappeared from our shelves and stayed on other countries' shelves, I don't really know. But there's something for you. If you have already tried it or if you've already seen it, do let me know. It's something I haven't gotten my grubby little hands on yet. Similarly, and this is one I feel like is history repeating itself again, but apparently M&M's minis are launching in the UK this summer. I feel like they've been a thing though. Like, it could just be me. Mini Smarties we've always had, definitely. I feel like mini M&Ms, whether they were only sold for like baking with or whether they were a thing in the early 2000s and then disappeared, I don't really know. But I feel like we've had mini M&Ms. I don't feel like that's a brand spanking new thing, but either way, they're coming back for some reason. I'm imagining just the plain chocolate ones because the thought of, scaling down a peanut M&M sounds like more work than it's worth. I'm a sort of crispy M&M fangirl, to be honest. The others, I can take them or leave them. So whether that's going to be aimed at kids or what, I don't really know. But they're coming back, apparently. Something that has disturbed me, however, is the news that Jaffa cakes, as in the little, is it a cake or a biscuit? Me personally, I think it's a cake, going based on the, when it goes stale, does it go firm or does it go soft? A biscuit, when it's stale, would go soft. A cake, when it's stale, would go firm. Jaffa cakes are born soft and then get kind of firmer and drier as they go stale. So to me, it's a cake, but it's sold like a biscuit. Traditionally, they are kind of tiny little cake discs with a kind of orange jelly, very firm orange jelly, almost too firm a lot of the time, and an absolutely tracing paper thin layer of dark chocolate on top. And sometimes you see them in other flavours. The lemon and lime ones aren't bad. I've seen a strawberry one, which doesn't really interest me, but it exists. I'm pretty sure there was a blackcurrant one at some point, which wasn't that bad, but that's a new word for you. They've announced that they're going to be releasing a cola bottle flavour. And I just can't get on board with that. It's not that chocolate and that kind of Coca-Cola flavour couldn't work together. They're both dark and occasionally sticky sweet flavours. But the thought of that like Haribo cola flavour sweet combined with dark chocolate and cake to me just isn't sitting right. But there you go. If you're the kind of person who likes chocolate and sweets together, I'm sure that'll be good news. For me, it's worrying. And in similarly disturbing but not unsurprising news, Anya Hindmarch, who we have spoken about at least once before on this podcast, is back at it again with her like design food brand crossover chaos. I think it was 2 years ago the first time this happened. I believe she's an artist, all-round kind of marketing artist, pop-up product kind of mastermind by the look of things. And she does these various pop-up things in London now and again with relatively controversial foodstuffs for sale and merchandise to go with it. When I say disturbing, this year, for example, what's been launched at whichever location in London that it is at, combining ice cream and selling in sort of standard Ben & Jerry's Haagen-Dazs style ice cream tubs, combining that with other popular brands. Now, what am I talking about? Some of them sound quite inviting. For example, she's made a Jaffa Cakes ice cream with the Jaffa Cakes branding on the tub, blah, blah, blah. Similarly, Sunpat peanut butter ice cream sounds fabulous to me. Sunpat isn't the best in the world, but it's got a really nostalgic childhood peanut butter kind of flavour. That kind of, the crunchy one especially, was really always really good. A Tropicana inspired one. Bird's custard, all of these flavours that are relatively sweet. You might not think of them as going well with ice cream, aside from bird's custard, because it's just vanilla. What could go wrong? But making them into ice cream flavours, bringing big, nostalgic, super popular British or international brands and turning them into ice cream. The trouble begins when you also see that there is also a Kikkoman soy sauce inspired ice cream, a Sarson's malt vinegar inspired ice cream. And as much as I am the kind of person that will soak, and I will repeat after that dramatic pause for emphasis, soak chips, whether skinny or fat, in Sarson's malt vinegar, because it's delicious. It's an angelic foodstuff. However, as ice cream, absolutely not. Similarly, there's a Branston there's a Branston pickle ice cream, and the flavour alone, the thought of the flavour alone is bad enough, but the thought of the like chunky bits of Branston pickle in that ice cream is troubling, folks. A cheese and pickle sandwich is a good thing. Vinegary, sweet, preserved flavours like that can be a great thing. In ice cream, absolutely not. Jail. And the most kind of viral one, thanks to Instagram and TikTok, etc., is the Heinz Beans ice cream that is also being sold not just in tubs to take away or as merch, but also like at a bar where you can order a scoop of the Heinz beans ice cream with a scoop, like with an actual spoonful of Heinz beans on top. And truly, not even for the meme. Not even for the meme would I do it. So yeah, that's a thing that's happening at the moment. How long that pop-up is there for, I don't know. If you're listening and you've seen this, if you're in London, if you've tried anything, I would love to know. She's a genius either way, because this is obviously going to get people talking with no doubt whatsoever, but just the thought of someone actually eating it and enjoying it, I would like to see evidence of. It's all very, that kind of Heston Blumenthal lane of nonsensical but potentially good food. And you hope that it could potentially be good, because you don't want things to be wasted. You don't want things just to be made for the sake of controversy and nothing else. But that Branston pickle one really has me gagging, folks. Gagging. But, folks, nonsense of this month aside, let's get into the nonsense of pretty much every year and into breaking bikini season. Bikini season is presented hideously to us every single year, whether you're actually somewhere where you can socially acceptably wear a bikini in public or not. As a Scot, even the concept of a bikini is still an unusual one. But every year, much like we do just after Christmas in January, we have the idea of, the bikini body and everything that goes along with being someone who can acceptably be dressed in a specific way at this time of year when it's warm. And I just wanted to take the opportunity, because I love to take it whenever possible, to say it's nonsense. It's all nonsense. And here's what I mean by that. This idea is marketing. As with anything that makes you feel bad about yourself, that makes you feel bad about your body, that makes you feel bad about your diet, is marketing. All of this is designed so that something can be sold to you, so that a solution can be made for you that you have to pay for to correct. And, a perfect example of this the other night, that's slightly separate just from the discussion of weight, but pointed at women especially. The other night I was watching one of these reality TV shows here in Italy. It's Temptation Island. We all need a bit of brain rot from time to time, and that was my brain rot of the night. And, thankfully I'm someone who has gone through a very, very, very long process of learning to, appreciate myself and being able to kind of remove myself as a direct target for this kind of advertising. But in the space of one ad break, there was an advert for wax strips, scented vulva products, and also for something weight loss related, all in the space of one ad break, all targeted only at women. And everything else was your usual, like, oh, summer holiday, or, here's a new cereal that's out. And those very three specific, you have something wrong with your body adverts, and here's how we can fix your ugly body in whatever sense they're trying to sell at you. Do you know what I mean? And when you see it all so crammed together like that, of course it's nothing new. This has been a thing since the 1940s, 1950s, but seeing it all kind of crammed together like that really makes you remember, wow, sod this, basically. What is the point? And bikini season especially, we are even more bombarded with this, because we're being reminded that our bodies are not quote unquote perfect, and that we don't look like the people that are on TV or the people that are on social media, if even they look like that, which most of the time they don't. And that's what I want to get into today. It's slightly separate, as sometimes we do, from a specific conversation just about the food, but we will keep it on that, as well as body neutrality, accepting your body for being a body. It's a bag of flesh and bones that helps your personality walk around and interact with the world. That's all it is. Realistically, first of all, how many times are you in a bikini? Genuine question. Because I went through so many years as a teenager, and also as, when I was in my early 20s, when I still lived in Scotland, for example, being so concerned about what I would look like in the summer, about what, people would perceive the circumference of my stomach or of my thighs. Who saw them? Genuine question. Who saw them? Nobody. And even if you are in a place where you're wearing shorts, chances are, if you're wearing shorts, because it's hot, and it means everyone else is wearing shorts. So why would they be looking at you? And that's maybe a really reductive way of looking and thinking about it, but that's what it is. How many times are you wearing skimpy clothes? Why are you wearing them? Do you want to wear them? So wear them. If you don't want to wear it, you don't have to wear them. You're under no pressure to eat in the same way that everyone else is, just because it's warm outside or because you're on holiday. And you are by no means under any pressure to dress in a particular way. Just because it's the summer doesn't need to mean that you wear a miniskirt. You don't want to. Similarly, you want to wear a miniskirt, go for it. It's hot. You probably should. That's the point of these kind of garments. If you want to be in a swimsuit and a bikini because you're at the beach and you're going to be in the water, do it. That's quite literally what they're designed for. It's not designed to show off your body. It's designed to be swimwear. It's designed to be something you wear. Similarly for men in swim shorts. They're short, they're revealing. Some of them are incredibly short. Here in Italy, some of them are way too short, but it's for swimming in. You're at the beach. You're covered in sand. You don't want to wear nice clothes. You want to wear stuff that's going to reveal your body so that you can sunbathe, or so that you can stay cooler, or so that you can enjoy the feeling of the water on your skin in waterproof stuff. You don't need to dress a certain way though. You don't need to buy the skimpy thong bikini just because it's there. You don't need to buy a bikini at all. You could buy a swimsuit. You could wear a full water suit, bathing suit, whatever, or you don't have to wear one at all. You could wear shorts and a t-shirt to the beach. You can wear long, loose trousers or, baggy, like I have this baggy shirt on today that's as revealing as I want it to be. I like having it open to here because I have a pretty necklace and a pretty bra on. And it's hot. It's 30 degrees here right now. Who's seeing me? No one. This room is empty. You don't have to dress or act in a certain way because it's a certain season. Obviously, if you're hot, you should probably wear less clothing, or you should probably wear more relaxed, loose clothing. But you're under no pressure to wear, bikini tops and Daisy Dukes like Katy Perry. It's dress how you want. Don't feel under pressure. The same way with eating. You don't have to change your diet if you don't want to. And if you do, you can. It's this kind of level of categorizing by your body, by saying bikini season or, party dress season in the winter, that leads to the cycle of kind of excess in the winter and purging in the summer. It's this idea that, when you're in November, you think, oh, sod it, it's Christmas soon, I'm all bundled up, no one's going to see me, that then leads you to think that you can, or that you should relax and eat and enjoy yourself as much as possible, only to regret it and then go on some hideous cycle of purging for the next few months because someone might see you in a bikini sometime in July or August. It's not good for you mentally, it's not good for you physically, and that kind of cycle, much like with yo-yo dieting, is never going to bring you anything good. It's not going to improve your relationship with food. If you are on a journey with weight gain or weight loss, it's not going to help give you consistent results whatsoever. Don't allow the idea of bikini season, or don't allow the concept of, that 1 week holiday you have booked in Turkey or in Spain or in Italy or the Maldives, whatever your budget stretches to determine how you feel about yourself for the rest of the year. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. Along those lines, when it comes to intuitive eating and intuitive living in the summer, the best thing you can do for yourself, for your mental health, for your body's intuition when it comes to hunger and recognizing hunger, or recognizing your body's physical needs, not just based on what is, being done by other people, is to stop talking about it. Sometimes it's that simple. You have no matter who you are, you have so many more important things to focus on. Your body, your appearance is often the least, and I mean, unless you have like really cool tattoos and a very interesting collection of piercings and rainbow colored hair, your appearance is genuinely and generally the least interesting thing about you. Of course, it's nice to look nice. Everybody wants to look presentable. Everybody wants to express themselves however they can. It's often the least interesting thing about you. People close to you don't often even consider it when they think of how much they care for you, love you, want to see you, how much they miss you. They don't remember how much you weigh. They don't remember what you wore 2 weeks ago to dinner, unless it was something incredibly specific. Focus on that. At this time of year, maybe you have exams that you're finishing. Maybe you're doing resits. Maybe you finished them all. So you want to relax. Maybe you're working a lot. Like me, for example, I have a job that in the summer is incredibly reliant on seasonal tourism. I'm busy as hell right now. Or maybe you finished that. Maybe you're on a little downtime from work, or your exams are finished. Maybe school's over. You want to focus on fun, warm weather activities instead. You want to focus on the concerts you're going to, on the holidays you're going on. You want to focus on not having to study or to work. Focus on enjoying yourself instead of focusing constantly on what you look like while you're doing so. I can't, it's not easy to do, but I can't tell you how freeing it is. It's something that naturally, in my experience, becomes easier with age anyway, because you become more and more aware of how little anyone cares. And I mean that in a nice way, not in a depressing kind of way. And it will come up. Your diet will come up, your appearance will come up, because someone else will bring it up. Because we're all trained to be obsessed with our appearance. But you don't have to engage. If someone makes a comment on what you brought to the office for lunch, if someone makes a comment on how much you're drinking, on how much you're eating, or vice versa, on how little you're eating or drinking. I'm someone who, in the winter, for example, eats a lot more than I do in the summer. My body still isn't very well adjusted to the heat we have here in Italy, and I find myself wanting only cold drinks and cold food, which can often mean I eat more often, but I eat smaller amounts more often, if that makes sense. But comments on your diet, comments on other people's diet, comments on guilt, comments on, what you're eating, what correlation that has to how you feel or how you appear. Stop. It's not going to bring anything. If someone brings it up, you don't have to engage in it. In the same way that, if someone brings up politics at the family dinner table, it's not always the best idea to engage. If you're in the mood, go for it, but it very rarely brings anything positive. It's a subject that sadly in many environments is so heavily talked about, but is so uninteresting ultimately because it's so fleeting. Our body weight fluctuates constantly throughout your life, depending on age, depending on the season, depending on your activity level, depending on how busy you are at work, pregnancy, maternity in general. There's a million things that can affect it. So why would we focus on it so much? There are so many more interesting, important things to talk about. It's wedding season. Talk about the fun of that. Talk about the fun of finishing exams. Talk about what you want to do when next year starts. Talk about the things that make life nice. Don't focus on what you have to change about yourself or what you need to change about your diet or comparing yourself to other people. And if you can, though, as I've made it kind of emphasized in previous episodes we've had on intuitive eating and guilt around eating, of course it's not something that everyone can do. And I am no dietitian, I'm no nutritionist, I'm no scientist, I'm no doctor. I'm simply someone who's had many forms of eating disorders and had to crawl myself out of them on my own in various means. And the one thing that has really, really helped is a kind of steady focus on eating intuitively. Now, personally, I find the physical signs and the intuition itself easier to understand in the summer. More moderate temperature for me, and I don't speak for everyone, perhaps you can identify with this, perhaps you're the opposite, just speaking from my own experience, I find the signals easier to understand in the summer. Comfort eating for the sake of it, for example, to me is less tempting or addictive when it's not cold and dark. I understand the want to eat lots of heavy, warm food in the winter. It's very natural. The food that grows in winter or the food that we store for winter is designed to be just that, because in the cold, in the dark, in a climate like Scotland where it's very windy and very wet all of the time, your body wants fuel because your body wants to store said fuel to help keep you warm. You don't want to be eating salad and drinking iced tea and eating ice cream necessarily. But in the summer you do because, for example, you want hydrating foods. You want foods that won't make you feel even more tired than you are. Now, instead of being in the cold and the wind and the rain, I'm regularly in temperatures over 30 degrees. That to me is when the temperature starts to become unpleasant to work in, for example. I have a very physical job. I walk as my commute every single day to work. And personally, those things have made it easier for me to recognize physical feelings of, for example, thirst and fatigue, even separate to hunger. So, in place of vague hunger signals like the actual hunger pangs or remembering that it's been X amount of time since you last ate something, the physical feeling of thirst, which I don't always feel in the winter because you're not dehydrating yourself as much, reminds me to eat hydrating foods, to drink lots of water, to make sure that I'm having fruit and vegetables and not necessarily just dry, things or things full of protein. And the fatigue, especially, which it took me a while to understand when I moved here because I wasn't used to the heat, tells me that even if I don't feel direct, like actual hunger pangs in my stomach or the typical kind of rumbling of your stomach when you're really hungry, but it lets me know that I need to eat, even if I'm not hungry. I'm not waiting to feel that clawing feeling of emptiness. But if I feel heavy, if I feel like I'm moving in slow-mo, if I feel like my eyes are closing in the middle of the afternoon, even if I've eaten not long ago, that's my body telling me, hello, I need fuel. If it's not bedtime or nap time, it means, hello, fuel me. I am a car, I am running low, put something in me, for the love of God. And typically for me, it means that I need to be eating carbohydrates regularly and fiber to kind of help that feeling of satiation, not only the actual stomach hunger feeling, but fatigue. To me personally, foods with protein in them do not keep me going. I need a good balance and I need carbohydrates and fiber, especially to keep up the physical energy, to keep moving, not just to keep myself feeling satisfied, And that's not something I've found is easy in other seasons. In spring and autumn, temperatures and things are much more changeable. In the winter, I've found that I eat more. And as a result, I always gain a little bit of weight in the winter, on the run up to winter generally. I love winter food and I love to eat in the winter. I want to eat warm things. I want to eat bigger portions. I want to feel fuller because I want to feel warmer. And I'm indoors more. I'm not likely to be outside sweating as much, whereas in the summer, I'm out a lot. As I said, I work on my feet. I'm expending a lot of energy that my body still isn't used to. And therefore, while I don't have cravings for big plates of food that's just going to make me feel sleepy afterwards, I need to eat small but steady to keep me going. And my body's physical signs are what show me that. But that also often involves ignoring the norm. It means ignoring when people comment that I lose weight at certain times of year or that I'm looking rounder in the face at other times of year, or ignoring the fact that some people eat very, very little in general in the summer, or that some people like to eat fried foods and beer in the summer, or that some people like to only have ice cream at lunch, or they like to have a massive meal in the evening and not eat throughout the day. Different people's bodies deal with their own situations differently. If I worked in an office, I would probably eat differently. If I had air conditioning 24/7, I would probably eat differently. But I find the summer is a really good time for me personally to understand the signals that my body is sending and to understand exactly what kind of and what amount of fuel I need to be putting in. And that's something that, if it fits into your lifestyle, that I would recommend applying. Not, again, with intuitive eating, not just eating because it's time for dinner, because it's X hour of the day, because you can, or, avoiding eating because it's not X hour of the day. You don't have to eat as much as everyone else. You don't have to eat as little as everyone else. Focus on yourself. Focus on how you feel. If you don't want to eat, don't. If you do want to eat, do. It's not super easy to read all of the time, but do remember to focus on you and not what everyone else is doing. So let's cover that kind of penultimately by saying you don't have to binge at the summer barbecue, nor do you have to fast when you're on the beach or at the poolside. Summer, just like winter and Christmas time, or, whichever religious festival may bring whichever things, can bring lots of events, both at work or socially, that revolve around food. And especially Northern Europe, that also revolve around a lot of alcohol, excess in general. Do not feel pressure to push yourself to discomfort in any way, just because others are doing it, because others will say that you're boring or that you're too focused on your appearance, or that, you eat too much, you need to focus more on your appearance. Ignore it. Ignore it. Ignore the projections of other people's feelings towards themselves, of other people's insecurities. They have nothing to do with you. Whether it's a family member, whether it's a colleague, usually the ones that barely even know you, whether it's friends. Let it wash over you. Let them say it, brush it off. Some will drink themselves absolutely daft at these things, just like they do at the Christmas parties. You don't have to. Some people will eat very, very little, only when they're in front of other people, because they want to look good. They want to let you know just how good they are. They want you to know that they're on a diet because they have an event coming up, or because they have a wedding coming up, or because they have a holiday coming up, and they need you to know about it. They need to talk about it to validate themselves for doing it. Fine, let them. That doesn't have to affect you. Some will overeat, on the contrary, to the point of nausea or discomfort just because the food's available, just because, the barbecue's on. There's 10 burgers. I only need one, but I'm going to eat 3 because it's there. Why not? Or because you'll feel bad if you don't finish something, or because you feel like you're offending someone by not taking a second portion of something. You don't have to. Eating is a social thing. I know it's not easy to always put these kind of limits on for ourselves, but sometimes we have to, because no one else will for us as adults. If you want to remain comfortable, if you want to feel good, you're never going to be able to do that by other people's limits. Someone, that's someone of a certain height and weight will not eat or feel the same things that someone with a different height or weight will feel. Gender can change it. Age can change it. Everything can change what makes you feel good or comfortable compared to other people. Some people will be under eating at the beach because they're hungover and they just want to sleep. Some people will overeat at the beach because they love an excuse to sit and enjoy things and relax to the fullest. That doesn't need to change what you do. If there's a barbecue on, if there's a work event and the drinks are free and you only have 3 instead of 7, fine. Or if you have 10 and other people are only having 4, as long as you can get yourself home safe and you don't feel bad, though I wouldn't probably imagine you'd feel great after that many, don't let other people affect your diet, affect how you feel about your body and your own physical feelings, because it won't bring any good. Comments about it won't bring any good. Listening, bringing it up, it won't bring any good. If anyone asks you about intuitive eating, talk about that instead. Talk about how you feel about other things. You don't have to talk about what is right or what is wrong based on this very limited, heavily advertised area of our lives. And finally, the final point I would make on this, as I do with everything about body image, about body positivity, body neutrality, body acceptance, whatever Instagram is calling it these days, is everyone is too busy focusing on being self-conscious and focusing on themselves to worry about you. Everyone is focusing too much on themselves and their own insecurities. No one is thinking about what other people look like on the beach because they're too worried about themselves, or what someone else looks like in shorts because they're too worried about themselves, or about whether, someone else notices that they haven't remembered to keep their stomach sucked in a certain dress because they're too focused on doing it on their own. I can't emphasize that enough. And I think this is something that perhaps just comes with age. No one notices and no one cares, in a nice way. People will make comments about people's weight and appearance no matter what they look like, whether it's someone as universally stunning as Margot Robbie or just your 70-year-old neighbor. People will comment on other people's appearance anyway. No one is focusing on you because they're too busy focusing on themselves, on what they're eating, on what they have eaten, on what they will eat, on what they look like, on whether they remove the right amount of hair from their legs or from their back or from their chest, or whether they're red in some parts and white in others, or whether they're tanned enough, whether they're wearing the right thing, whether people can see whether or not they're sweating or not. Everyone is too busy with their own stuff to worry about yours. So please relax and enjoy yourself and focus on how you feel, not on how you look, is the main thing I would say during this bikini season. during this summer season, whether you're on holiday, whether you're staying at home, whether you're indoors, outdoors, socially busy, hanging out by yourself, focusing on things, chilling, whatever you're doing, focus on how you feel and not on how you look. Okay? That's all I really have to say today. Nothing groundbreaking, as always, hence the title of the podcast. And, nothing that I haven't really mentioned in other episodes before, but it's just something that came to mind. Like I said, with this season in general, we're getting into the midst of July. It's super hot in some parts of the world and, a little bit warmer in others. And also because of that horrendous row of adverts I was subjected to the other night. I just thought it was time to have another episode like this. So whether this has helped, whether this has relaxed you a little bit, even just for half an hour, whether you feel like I've missed something or whether you'd like me to talk a bit more about this, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope it's brought you some good feelings instead of some guilt that so many other forms of media can bring. And I hope you're having a lovely summer so far, whether you're finishing exams, whether you've just finished up school, whether you're starting a new job, whether you're chilling before you start one in the autumn, whether you have a wedding coming up, or whether you're on honeymoon, whether you're on holiday, whether you're living just another day-to-day workday life like you do every day. Whatever you're doing, I hope the summer's treating you nicely so far and that it continues to do so. Thank you so much as always for listening, and I will see you for the next one.